So hello gamers and welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to be doing 10 things you should never do in Phantom Forces 2024 edition. Now the first thing, and this is something very crazy that a lot of people don't know about yet, the first thing you should never do is use the folding grip. Yeah, the folding grip. One of the most popular grips of all time in this game. I have 2,500 kills on it on the M16A3, so why should you not use this grip? It used to be very popular and it actually hasn't really had any changes to it. The reason is it's actually objectively worse than a different grip that is essentially just better in every way. That grip is also less kills, so you can get this grip earlier, and it's the angled grip. Now these have historically done very similar things before, however now the angled grip actually has better recoil control and you get a faster aiming speed, which is, you can tell here, it is really good aiming speed. The angled grip is one of the best grips now, and the folding grip is actually just never really worth using. Can you use the folding grip if you want to? Sure, it's a good grip, but there's really no reason to use it unless you like the look of it or something. Now the next thing is only on a specific map, and I really don't want to go to this map to show you guys because it's not the worst map in the game, but it's not very good, and that's Mall. Now Mall is a very OG map, but in terms of like the OG maps, it's one of the more hated ones. I think it's pretty good, but the main thing you should just not do on it is don't click deploy. Never click deploy on Mall. The reason for that is because sometimes it'll spawn you outside of the map, basically. It'll spawn you and you have to go up a ladder or up a staircase, and it takes a really long time to actually get into the action. So basically what you got to do is squad deploy. Just go to the squad deploy list if you're on the map Mall. And a lot of people I see not doing this, and they're basically free kills because they go up the ladder or they go up the stairs, and they're basically just a free kill, and they get way less kills because they're spawning outside of the map and they have to run for 30 seconds to find anybody. The next thing is the flashlight attachment. Now a lot of people kind of like this. It's not a very good attachment, and it actually does nothing. So the reason you shouldn't be running the flashlight is, one, you can turn off daylight cycle so it won't be night and it's never dark, and two, if you're running on low graphics, like I'll show you. If I'm on 1 graphics, for example, the light is very buggy. It looks really bad. Like, it's not lighting stuff up in some areas, and that's kind of annoying. But the main thing is, really, if you're on a bad computer, this will kill your performance. And if you're on even a good computer, it will still lower your frames per second, and there's no advantage to using it. Flashlights have literally no effect on stats. It's not like a downgrade to use it in terms of stats on your gun. However, in terms of actual performance of your game, it is worse. So don't use a flashlight. If you like a flashlight, I guess you can, but there's objectively no reason to ever use one because, you know, the flashlight effect is really not important in this game, and secondly, it's just bad for your performance. Even here, I can feel I'm getting lower frames per second. Use something else. Use a collapsible stock or a laser. Use something else. Now, the next thing that I see a lot of low ranks making as a mistake is changing your fire mode. The main one I see people using the fire mode selector on, especially at a high rank, is the AN94. Now, the AN94 is one of the few ones where you'd be like, oh, well, it has a fast burst. It actually has a fast burst regardless of the fire mode. In the past, switching your gun to semi or burst would give you a increased, like, recoil control benefit of like 10%. It doesn't actually do that anymore, so there's really no point. You can just tap fire your gun. Don't put on semi, just click once. It's not that hard, man. If you want to tap fire people at range, there's really no reason to switch unless your gun is burst by default and you're like trying to fight for like super long range. But I don't know, most of the burst weapons have good recoil anyway, and if you're trying to like tap fire somebody from super far, they're gonna kill you with basically anything else. So I don't know, there's really no reason to ever switch your fire mode, except of course on the AK-12s, and that, you know, speaks for itself. Was I shooting somebody else? What even happened there? Now, the next one I see a lot of people making less, which is good, is the second that they'll get hollow point, like let's say I had hollow point, which I didn't, I just bought it, but I have like infinite credits, so I don't really care. They will put hollow point on their gun because they're like, well, I have like 2,000 kills, hollow point increases my damage, it must be good. Most of the guns in this game are terrible with hollow point. Hollow point will reduce your penetration depth by 50%, it will reduce your ranges, and it will reduce your min damage and your headshot multiplier, and it can like kind of kill your gun for a lot of these guns. So the Ace Val is already a 3-hit kill up to 60 stuns, and this is actually going to be reducing my 3-hit kill range and giving me a 7-hit kill at range and reduce headshot damage, and there's actually 0 upside to using this. You also get like reduced pen as well. So a lot of people will put hollow point, which is something that they do a little bit less now, but I still see people running hollow point on the weirdest guns, and it's killing their gun because there's basically no advantage to hollow point on a lot of guns. It's a weird thing because it's not like a conversion, it's just an ammo type that they put on every gun. Same with AP. AP can be a little bit better, it depends, but I wouldn't really recommend using either of them unless you're sure it's going to be good, and hollow point is usually not good at all. And even when it's good, it has a ton of downsides as well. The next thing that I see a lot of people making the mistake of doing, this is something that I've made the mistake of doing a couple of times, is pre-buying a sniper rifle without giving it a lot of testing, like going to the test place and using it for a while. Because sniper rifles are one of the weirdest classes of guns where it can be an objectively great gun. Somebody can be like, this is the best sniper in the game. You pre-buy it and you're going to do terrible with it, because a lot of sniping is actually the feeling of it and also your skill level. Like, let's say, for example, you had the BFG 50 and you got some kills, and then you hear the SVDS is really good. The SVDS is objectively better than whatever BFG you have, but you're not going to necessarily do that good with it, even though it's objectively better. So what I would recommend is go in the test place and use the gun for a while. Wow. I wallbanged that. So for example, I actually pre-bought the AWM, and I did actually end up really liking it a while later, but I did not like it when I first got the gun. I basically didn't use it at all, even though it was not that good at the time, but it ended up being a really good sniper a little bit down the road, as in like 5 years down the road. But yeah, if you don't like the gun and you're not vibing with it just because you picked it up one time and you're like, ooh, this seems pretty good, don't pre-buy it immediately because you might regret it. The next thing that's very important is don't argue in the chat. I see so many people arguing in chat. If you're guilty of it, just stop. Maybe even turn off chat. But yeah, you're not going to get anything from arguing with people in the chat. This is kind of like a life lesson, but arguing with people on the internet is not a very healthy activity. It can be fun at times, but I see a ton of people arguing in the chat, getting angry. Somebody gets a vote kicked, somebody starts a vote kick, somebody leaves, rage quits, people are teabagging. I mean, like, it's not going to be overall that fun a lot of the time when you do it, and you could get chat banned if you do it enough and there's a mod in your game or something like that. So I don't really recommend it. I don't think you can get banned from the game, just you can have your chat disabled if you do it. So I guess don't do it, because the chat can sometimes be fun. And the next one is also related to the chat. Stop voting yes on every vote kick you see. If somebody's getting vote kicked, you should wait until you actually know what's going on. And if you don't know what's going on and you couldn't figure it out, just vote J. Just hit the J key and it will make it go away. For example, somebody could be vote kicking somebody because they're using a gun they don't like or something like that. I have been vote kicked in the past just for having a BFG out, which is so toxic. Like, let people use what they want to use. Now, this next one is something that I see a lot of people still doing, and yeah, you can do it if you want to, but it's using a shift to steady scope on a sniper rifle. Now, this is a pretty big one that a lot of people like. A lot of people love the scopes that have a shift to steady, but I'm going to explain why objectively it's not good, but you can still use them if you want to. I just heavily do not recommend it. And the reason is you shoot and then you have to bolt, and then you can go back in. You could say like, oh, well, I'll just use straight pull or marksman kit, right? And then I can actually aim down sights and bolt at the same time, and I don't have that massive delay. However, that will slow your RPM down, and because you can't use a remove stock or something, it's going to make your handling worse. So I have 41 RPM now, which is pretty good, right? It's pretty good RPM. However, what I could use is remove stock and then a red dot or just a scope that doesn't have shift to steady. Like, you can still use a scope here, but it just doesn't need to be the biggest scope ever. I think VCOG actually works on the alt aim, right? It does. So yeah, now I have the faster handling and the faster rate of fire, and I still have a scope. So you can just use, you can even use a shift to steady scope just on the mode that's not shift to steady, which is kind of crazy. Like, you can still use the 8x scope, just not on its like base mode. And then you get faster rate of fire, faster handling, and you can still use a scope, but you can also just use a red dot if you want to. It's kind of broken, I won't lie. That way you can have basically all the best stats on your sniper at once, and that was definitely a big annoyance with the Model 700 before, because if you didn't know before, you actually had to aim out every single time you shot, even if you were using a red dot. But now you can just shoot while aiming, as long as you have a red dot or anything that doesn't have a shift to steady. For some reason, even these full scopes with the alt aim, like if I had to do this, I would have to aim out and then go back in. But now, if I use this, like, it is a lot faster, which is super nice. Now, the last one that I see people still doing is using the muffler. Now, I don't know why you'd ever use a muffler. Basically, what the muffler does is it lowers your fire rate and your velocity. What it gives you is better recoil, which is fine. But, oh my gosh, I'm firing at 612 RPM instead of 680. You might say, well, I use it for a meme loadout, which is completely valid. But if you're running a meme loadout, why wouldn't you use the oil filter? Like, if you're going to run a meme loadout, just go ahead and use the oil filter, because that's funny. So it's not good for memes, and it's also not a very good attachment, because lower fire rate on most guns is not that helpful. Like, there's very few guns where I'd say, like, oh, you can lower the fire rate. I wouldn't say a muzzle booster or muffler is ever really that necessary to run. But if you're gonna run a funny attachment, why would it not be the oil filter? Because it looks funny. Feel free to use the muffler if you really want to, but there's basically no reason. This is a very, very accurate gun already in the AUG 1, but even if you're not running the most accurate gun in the world, I don't think you really need to run a muffler for any reason. There's very few guns. Actually, I can't think of a single gun where I'd be like, yeah, lower the fire rate. Just use a different gun. Anyways, gamers, if you guys did enjoy, let me know in the comments. Should I do a part 2 for this? 1,000 likes on the video, and maybe I will. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Have a nice day.